The Galactic Council's worst nightmare had come to pass. Humans had mastered pocket dimension technology. In a dim chamber on the Citadel, Counselor Sagan slammed his fist on the obsidian table, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. "This cannot stand! The humans and their reckless experiments threaten the very fabric of our reality," Sagan bellowed, his yellow eyes flashing. "If we don't stop them now, there may be no galaxy left to govern." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled dignitaries. For millennia, the Council had maintained an iron grip on the Milky Way, jealously guarding the secrets of advanced tech from lesser races like humanity. But now, reports poured in of human ships powered by pocket dimension drives, venturing boldly beyond their home system, establishing resource-rich colonies in unclaimed sectors. It had all started in the makeshift basement lab of one maverick physicist, Dr. Ralph Rice. During a routine experiment, Rice stumbled upon the key to accessing and creating stable pocket universes. Unbeknownst to him, a shadowy Earth agency called Majestic 12 had been monitoring his research. They quickly seized control, forcing Rice to weaponize his creation for their military machine in a secret Nevada facility. But try as they might, the Council could not contain the spread of pocket dimension tech on Earth. Renegade scientists shared notes on the dark web, while corporate magnates salivated over the vast wealth to be gained from private pocket universes. A paradigm shift was underway, one that threatened to forever alter the balance of power on a galactic scale. As an uneasy silence fell over the Citadel chamber, one lone voice called for restraint, and a sorry counselor, her blue skin shimmering under the starlight, spoke up. "The humans may prove valuable allies, if approached openly and honestly," she said, locking eyes with Sagan. "Our policy of isolation and domination has only bred fear and mistrust. Surely diplomacy is the wiser path, not destruction." Her words fell on deaf ears. The die had been cast. The Council would stop the human menace at any cost. And in that moment, a humble physicist toiling away in his desert lab had no idea that he had just ignited a war that would determine the fate of his entire species. Deep beneath the scorched Nevada desert, Dr. Ralph Rice hunched over a gleaming metal workbench, his brow furrowed in concentration. The subterranean lab, a maze of humming machines and pulsing conduits, was the beating heart of Majestic 12's most ambitious undertaking yet. Rice's fingers danced across a holographic display, inputting complex equations that held the key to his greatest breakthrough and his deepest regret. "Doc, the director wants a progress report." The gruff voice of Sergeant Briggs, Rice's humorless military handler, echoed through the cavernous chamber. "He's not a patient man." Rice's shoulders tensed, but he kept his eyes fixed on the swirling lines of code. "Tell Smith his pocket dimension will be operational within the week," he said, his voice flat. "But I need more time to ensure its stability. Rushing the process could have catastrophic consequences." Briggs snorted. "You let us worry about the consequences, egghead. Just deliver the goods." His heavy footsteps receded, leaving Rice alone with his troubled thoughts. The physicist's mind raced as he worked, haunted by visions of the Pandora's box he had unwittingly unlocked. In the wrong hands, pocket dimensions could unleash untold horrors upon the galaxy. And there were no hands wronger than those of Mr. Smith and his shadowy, Majestic 12 overlords. Rice's gaze drifted to a small, encrypted data drive hidden beneath a false bottom in his workbench drawer. Within its circuits lay a damning record of Majestic 12's misdeeds and his own unwilling complicity. It was his insurance policy, his last desperate hope to set things right. But first, he had to find a way out of this high-tech prison and into the light of day. Light years away on the frontier mining outpost of Kepler-16, Jack Harper wiped the sweat from his brow as he sealed the hatch on a battered pocket dimension extractor. The machine hummed to life, its powerful graviton beam piercing the fabric of space-time to siphon precious resources from a pocket universe of Harper's own creation. "Damn, Jack, you sure know your way around a hyperspanner," came a melodic voice from behind him. Harper turned to see Lyra Tissoni, the outpost's newest arrival, watching him with sparkling eyes. Though she claimed to be a simple prospector, something about Lyra didn't quite add up. But Harper found himself drawn to her quick wit and easy smile. Just doing my job, Lyra, Harper said, grinning. These pocket dimensions aren't going to mind themselves. Lyra stepped closer, examining the extractor with an expert eye. I've never seen such advanced tech in human hands before, she mused. Your species is full of surprises. Harper's chest swelled with pride. We're just getting started, he said. Pocket dimensions are going to change everything. The resources we can access, the scientific breakthroughs, the sheer possibilities. He trailed off, lost in visions of a glorious future. But Lyra's expression darkened, a flicker of worry crossing her fine features. If only Harper knew the truth about the galactic powers arrayed against humanity, the ancient menace stirring in the void. She steeled herself, knowing that the time for secrets was swiftly running out. In the depths of space, a vast, cephalopod-like machine drifted through the endless night, its massive frame dwarfing the stars themselves. Within the Reaper's ancient mind, a single imperative pulsed like a dark heartbeat. The cycle must continue. The lesser races had grown too clever, too quick. They had tapped blasphemous energies beyond their ken. The Reapers had slumbered for untold millennia, waiting for the galaxy to ripen. Now, the moment of the harvest drew near. The pocket verses would make a fitting conduit for their inexorable onslaught. Let the mewling civilizations scheme and squabble. In the end, there could be only one outcome. The Reaper's purpose would be fulfilled, as it had been since time immemorial. As unseen gears of fate clicked into place, a humble physicist, an adventurous Asari, and a brash young human found themselves on a collision course with destiny. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, teetering on the knife's edge between a new era of wonder and an ancient, all-consuming darkness. Dr. Rice's fingers flew across the holographic interface, sweat beading on his brow as he pushed the limits of his creation. The lab hummed with energy, machines whirring and pulsing as he manipulated the fabric of reality itself. Come on, he muttered, eyes fixed on the swirling vortex forming before him. With a final keystroke, the air shimmered and tore open, revealing a stable wormhole connecting two pocket universes. Rice exhaled sharply, a mixture of elation and dread washing over him. He had done it, a traversable bridge between dimensions. But at what cost? Before he could contemplate the implications, alarms blared throughout the facility. Rice's head snapped up, heart racing as he heard the distant sound of gunfire. In the control room above, Mr. Smith barked orders into a comm unit. Secure the asset. We cannot lose Rice or his research. Chaos erupted as two strike teams converged on the lab. Saren Arterius, a towering Turian with cold cybernetic eyes, led a squad of elite operatives through the facility's ventilation system. Simultaneously, a team of black-clad Cerberus commandos breached the perimeter, their leader's voice crackling over the radio. This is Harper. Remember, we need Rice alive. Secure the data at all costs. Dr. Rice frantically gathered his equipment, shoving drives and prototypes into a reinforced case. His gaze darted between the wormhole and the lab's sealed doors, which shuddered under heavy impacts. With a hiss of hydraulics, the doors flew open. Saren's team poured in from one side, while Cerberus forces stormed in from the other. Caught in the crossfire, Rice made a split-second decision. He activated his portable dimension device and leapt through the shimmering portal, the case clutched tightly to his chest. Saren and Harper, momentarily stunned by the sight, locked eyes across the room. Without hesitation, both leaders plunged into the wormhole after their quarry. The lab erupted into chaos as the opposing teams clashed, unaware that their leaders had vanished into the unknown. Galaxies away on the mining outpost of Kepler-16, Lyra Tassoni's Omni tool chirped insistently. She frowned, tapping the device to reveal a garbled transmission. Ancient structure, Prothean origin, pocket dimension. Lyra's eyes widened. She glanced around furtively before slipping away from the bustling mining operation. Following the signal's coordinates, she activated her own dimension device, stepping into a shimmering portal. The Asari emerged in a vast, shadowy chamber, filled with towering obelisks covered in pulsing glyphs. As she approached a central console, holographic displays flickered to life, revealing apocalyptic scenes of destruction. By the goddess, Lyra breathed, her fingers tracing the ancient Prothean script. What happened to you? Before she could delve deeper, a warning klaxon echoed through the chamber. Lyra whirled around to see heavily armed Cerberus operatives pouring into the ruins, led by a stern-faced woman with piercing eyes. "Operative Lawson," the woman barked, leveling a sleek pistol at Lyra. "By order of the elusive man, you're coming with us." Lyra's biotics flared, a shimmering barrier encasing her body. She backed away slowly, her mind racing for an escape route. Across the galaxy, in a pocket dimension beyond comprehension, Dr. Rice stumbled through an otherworldly landscape. Towering structures of impossible geometry loomed overhead, pulsing with eldritch energy. As he caught his breath, a massive shape emerged from the shadows. Rice's blood ran cold as he beheld the cephalopod-like form of a reaper, its red eye fixing upon him with malevolent intelligence. A deep, reverberating voice echoed in Rice's mind. "Your meddling has accelerated the cycle, human. You have doomed your kind to harvest." Rice's hands trembled as he clutched his research, the weight of cosmic horror bearing down upon him. Yet amid the terror, a spark of defiance ignited within the physicist's breast. He had unleashed this power upon the galaxy. Now he would find a way to save it. Behind him, the air shimmered as Saren and Harper emerged from their respective portals, weapons drawn. The unlikely trio found themselves united in the face of an ancient, implacable foe. As the Reaper's crimson eye pulsed with murderous intent, Rice's mind raced, searching for a solution hidden within the very fabric of reality itself. The Reaper's ominous presence loomed over Dr. Rice, Saren, and Harper. In that moment of shared peril, Rice's scientific mind whirred into action. He fumbled with his portable dimension device, fingers flying across the interface. "What are you doing?" Harper hissed, his gun trained on the Reaper's pulsing eye. "Creating an escape route," Rice muttered. With a final keystroke, a shimmering portal erupted beside them. "Now!" The trio dove through just as the Reaper's devastating beam scorched the ground where they had stood. They tumbled through a kaleidoscope of realities, emerging in a crystalline pocket dimension that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. Rice scrambled to his feet, clutching his research case. "We need to keep moving. They'll find us." A blue-tinged barrier suddenly enveloped him. Saren's cybernetic arm glowed with biotic energy as he held Rice in place. "You're not going anywhere, Doctor. The Council has questions." Harper leveled his pistol at Saren. "Cerberus has a vested interest in the Doctor's work. I can't let you take him." As the two faced off, Rice's mind raced. The Reaper's words echoed in his head. "You have doomed your kind to harvest." He had to warn someone, had to find a way to stop this. Seizing his chance, Rice activated his device once more. The barrier shimmered and failed as he slipped into another pocket dimension, leaving Saren and Harper behind. Rice stumbled through a series of unstable realities, each one stranger than the last. Gravity shifted unpredictably, alien vistas flashed by in a blur. Finally, he emerged in a sterile white room that seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions. A figure stood before him, a man in an impeccable suit, eyes glowing with an unnatural blue light. "Dr. Rice," he said, his voice smooth and controlled. "I've been expecting you." Rice tensed, ready to flee again. "Who are you?" "I'm known as the Elusive Man," he replied, lighting a cigarette, "and I believe we have much to discuss regarding the future of humanity." Meanwhile, in a Cerberus holding cell, Lyra Tassoni faced down Jack Harper. The human's eyes bored into her, searching for answers. "Tell me about the Protheans," Harper demanded. "What did you find in those ruins?" Lyra's mind raced, weighing her options. Finally, she spoke. "Evidence of their downfall. The Protheans unlocked the secrets of pocket dimensions, just as humanity is doing now, but it drew the attention of something ancient and terrible." Harper leaned in, intrigued. "Go on." "Machine intelligences," Lyra continued, "vast and unknowable. They harvest advanced civilizations in cycles, using the very pocket dimension technology the Protheans developed against them." Harper's face paled as the implication sank in. He turned away, fists clenched. "The Elusive Man needs to know about this." But as Harper strode from the cell, doubt gnawed at him. Was Cerberus truly protecting humanity or leading it down a path to destruction? On the Citadel, Counselor Tivos and Inspector Nihilus huddled over a holographic display, their faces grim. "These energy signatures are unmistakable," Nihilus said, pointing to pulsing red nodes scattered across the galactic map. Reaper artifacts hidden in unexplored pocket dimensions. Tivos shook her head. "How could we have missed this?" "We weren't looking," Nihilus replied. "But now we know the truth. The Reapers are real, and they're coming." Tivos straightened, her eyes hardening with drive. "We need to act. Contact Dr. Rice. Tell him we're prepared to offer sanctuary in exchange for his cooperation." As Nihilus moved to comply, Tivos gazed out at the swirling nebula beyond the Citadel's arms. The future of the cosmos hung in the balance, and time was running out. Dr. Rice's fingers trembled as he input the final calculations into his dimension device. The sterile white room of the elusive man's sanctum faded away, replaced by the familiar chaos of his lab. Alarms still blared, but the facility stood empty, the opposing forces long since departed. Rice slumped against a console, heart pounding from his encounter with the Reaper. The weight of responsibility threatened to crush him. Humanity's meddling with pocket dimensions had accelerated the cycle, bringing an ancient horror to their doorstep. But Rice refused to accept defeat. He activated his secure comm channel. "Jack, it's Rice. We need to talk." Harper's voice crackled through the speaker, tense and wary. "Doctor, how did you—" "No time," Rice cut him off. "I have proof of what's coming. The Reapers are real, and they're using our own technology against us." There was a long pause before Harper replied, his voice strained. "I'm listening." Rice took a deep breath. "We need to put aside our differences. Cerberus, Majestic 12, the Alliance. Humanity must stand united. And we need the council races, too." "You can't be serious," Harper scoffed. "After everything—" "I've seen what's at stake," Rice insisted. "We don't have a choice." Meanwhile, on the Citadel, Counselor Tivos paced her office. The holographic display of Reaper signatures haunted her. She turned to Nihilus, her expression grim. "Bring me Dr. Rice and the Asari, Lyra Tassoni," she ordered. "We need their expertise." Nihilus nodded, his mandibles clicking with tenacity. "What about Cerberus?" Tevos's eyes hardened. "We'll deal with them if we must." Hours later, alarms blared through a Cerberus facility as Nihilus's strike team breached the perimeter. Gunfire erupted in the corridors, but Jack Harper stood before the cell containing Rice and Lyra, conflict etched on his face. "Go," Harper said, deactivating the force field. "The galaxy needs you more than Cerberus does." As Rice and Lyra hurried past, Harper caught the doctor's arm. "I hope you know what you're doing." Rice met his gaze. "So do I." On the Citadel, the council chambers buzzed with tension. Rice stood before the assembled leaders, his dimension device projecting images of the Reaper he'd encountered. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. "The threat is real," Rice declared, "but we have a chance if we work together." Turian Counselor Victus leaned forward, mandibles flaring. "And how do you propose we fight these machines?" Rice activated another hologram, displaying complex schematics. "We use their own weapon against them, a quantum computational matrix built within a pocket dimension, capable of cracking their control codes." Tevos's eyes widened. "Is such a thing even possible?" "With the combined knowledge of every species?" "Yes," Rice affirmed, "but we need total cooperation. Human, Asari, Turian, Solarian, everyone." The council chambers erupted into heated debate. Rice watched, heart pounding, as the fate of the galactic realm hung in the balance. Days later, Rice found himself aboard a sprawling space station, neutral ground for an unprecedented summit. Representatives from every major power filled the conference room, an uneasy alliance born of desperation. The elusive man sat opposite Rice, his glowing eyes betraying nothing. Mr. Smith of Majestic 12 lurked in the shadows, inscrutable as ever. But as Rice laid out his plan, he saw a glimmer of hope in the faces around him. We stand at a crossroads, Rice concluded. United, we have a chance. Divided, we fall. As murmurs of assent filled the room, Rice allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism. The real work was just beginning, but for the first time since he'd stared into the baleful eye of a Reaper, he dared to believe they might succeed. In a pocket dimension far from prying eyes, construction began on the massive engineering facility that would house the quantum matrix. Rice worked tirelessly alongside scientists of every species, the boundaries between them blurring in pursuit of a common goal. But even as progress marched forward, Rice couldn't shake the feeling of a clock ticking down. Somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, the Reapers were coming, and all the pocket dimensions in the universe couldn't hide them forever. The engineering facility hummed with frantic activity as scientists from across the galaxy raced against time. Dr. Rice wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes darting between holographic displays of the quantum matrix's intricate components. "We're making progress, but not fast enough," he muttered to Lyra Tassoni, who stood beside him, her fingers dancing across a control panel. "The Prothean data is integrating well," Lyra replied, her voice tight with concentration. "But there are still gaps in our understanding." Before Rice could respond, a proximity alarm blared through the facility. Neelis Krayik's voice crackled over the comms. "Reaper forces detected in nearby systems. We're running out of time." Rice's stomach clenched as he remembered the Reaper's ominous words. He pushed the memory aside, focusing on the task at hand. "Counselor Tivos, what's our status?" The Asari's hologram flickered to life. "Turian fleets are engaging the Reaper vanguard in the Apian crest. They're buying us time, but at a heavy cost." As if to underscore her words, the facility shuddered. Rice stumbled, catching himself on a nearby console. What was that? Alarms wailed as security feeds lit up with nightmare images. Husks and Reaper ground troops swarmed through breached corridors, their inhuman shrieks echoing through the station. "How did they find us?" Lyra gasped, her biotics flaring instinctively. Rice's mind raced. "Indoctrinated agents. They must have—" His words were cut short as the main doors to the control room exploded inward. Rice and Lyra dove for cover as Reaper forces poured through the breach, the air filled with the staccato of gunfire and the sizzle of biotic attacks. "Protect the Matrix!" Rice shouted, drawing his sidearm. He fired at the advancing husks, each shot finding its mark but barely slowing the tide. Lyra unleashed a biotic shockwave, sending a group of Reaper troops flying. "We can't hold them off forever!" As if in answer to her words, a familiar voice boomed through the facility. "This is Spectre Neelis Krayik. Hold your positions. Reinforcements incoming." Relief washed over Rice, but it was short-lived. Movement caught his eye. A group of Cerberus operatives led by the elusive man himself, slipping through the chaos towards a secondary control room. "No!" Rice shouted, realizing their intent. He tried to give chase, but a Reaper cannibal blocked his path, its grotesque form bearing down on him. A burst of gunfire dropped the creature. Jack Harper appeared at Rice's side, his face grim. "Go! Stop him! I'll cover you!" Rice nodded, gratitude and regret mingling as he sprinted after the elusive man. He reached the secondary control room just in time to see the Cerberus leader interfacing with a Matrix data core. "Don't do this," Rice pleaded, leveling his weapon. "You'll compromise everything we've worked for." The elusive man's cybernetic eyes gleamed. "I'm ensuring humanity's survival, Doctor, by any means necessary." Before Rice could respond, the elusive man triggered a hidden device. A shimmering portal opened behind him, and he stepped through with the stolen data core. Cursing, Rice turned back to the main control room. The tide had turned with Neelis' arrival, but Reaper forces still pressed their attack. The unfinished Matrix components sparked and smoked from battle damage. Rice made a split-second decision. He activated his Omni tool, inputting emergency protocols. "Everyone out! Now!" As allies and enemies alike scrambled to escape, Rice initiated the pocket dimension's containment failsafes. Energy barriers sprang to life, sealing off sections of the facility. Rice's heart pounded as he watched the last of Neelis' team clear the final barrier. The Reaper forces howled in fury, trapped within the collapsing pocket dimension. As the dimensional boundaries began to destabilize, Rice allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Reapers wouldn't claim this prize, but with the elusive man's betrayal, the fate of the Matrix and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. The shock wave from the collapsing pocket dimension reverberated through the escape shuttle as Rice slumped against the bulkhead, exhaustion etched on his face. Lyra steadied herself beside him, her eyes wide with concern. "We've lost the facility," Rice said, his voice hoarse. "But we've denied the Reapers a critical advantage." Nihilus nodded grimly from the pilot's seat. "The Council needs to know. We're setting course for the Citadel." Hours later, Rice stood before the assembled Council in their emergency chambers. The seriousness of the situation was palpable, with representatives from every major race crowding the room. "The quantum matrix data core has been compromised," Rice declared. His words met with a chorus of alarm murmurs. "The elusive man has taken it, but without the specialized containment chamber, he can't fully harness its power." Counselor Tivos leaned forward, her face etched with concern. "What do you propose, Doctor?" Rice activated a holographic display showcasing a heavily fortified Cerberus base. "We strike at the heart of Cerberus, a surgical operation to retrieve the core and any research derived from it." "Impossible," Turian Counselor Victus scoffed. "Cerberus defenses are impenetrable." "Not entirely," a voice called from the back of the chamber. Jack Harper stepped forward, his cybernetic eyes gleaming. "I can provide detailed schematics and security protocols." The room erupted in shouts and accusations, but Rice raised his hand for silence. "We need every advantage we can get. Mr. Harper's intel could mean the difference between success and failure." As the council debated, Rice turned to Nihilus. "We'll need a strike team, the best of the best." Nihilus nodded, already compiling a mental list. "I know just the people." Days later, Rice found himself aboard an unmarked frigate, surrounded by an elite cadre of operatives. Systems Alliance N7 commandos stood shoulder to shoulder with Asari huntresses, their combined centuries of combat experience filling the air with tense anticipation. At the center of it all stood Nyreen Kandros, a Turian biotic specialist whose reputation preceded her. Her mandibles clicked as she studied the holographic layout of the Cerberus base. "Their outer defenses are formidable," Nyreen observed, her taloned finger tracing a path through the compound. "But if we exploit this maintenance tunnel, we can bypass the bulk of their forces." Rice nodded, impressed by her tactical acumen. "Once inside, we make for the central data vault. That's where they'll be keeping the Matrix core." As the team made final preparations, an alert blared through the ship's comms. Lyra's voice, tight with urgency, filled the air. "Rice, we have a problem. Mr. Smith from Majestic 12 has gone dark. I've uncovered transmissions indicating he's defected to Cerberus with crucial Matrix data." Rice's stomach dropped. "Can you intercept him?" "Already on it," Lyra replied, tenacity evident in her tone. "I'm tracking him to a compound on Noveria. I'll retrieve the data and rendezvous with you at the Cerberus base." As Lyra's transmission cut out, Rice turned to the assembled strike team. "The stakes just got higher. We move in 1 hour." The Cerberus base loomed before them, a fortress of gleaming metal and pulsing energy barriers. Rice's heart pounded as Nyreen led the first wave through the maintenance tunnel, her biotics flaring to life as they encountered the initial resistance. Gunfire erupted, the sounds of battle echoing through the cavernous facility. Rice pushed forward with the second wave, his eyes scanning for any sign of the data vault. Suddenly, a bone-chilling shriek filled the air. Rice's blood ran cold as he recognized the unmistakable sound of Reaper forces. "Saren," he whispered, realizing the implications. "He's turned Cerberus operatives into sleeper agents." The battle intensified, with Nyreen's team pushing relentlessly towards the central chamber. Casualties mounted on both sides, but the strike force's superior training and coordination began to tell. As they neared the data vault, a massive tremor shook the facility. Rice's eyes widened in horror as a colossal form rose before them. A Reaper destroyer, its metallic hide twisted and warped by the stolen Matrix data. "Impossible," Nyreen breathed, her mandibles flaring in shock. The destroyer's eye began to glow, charging for a devastating attack. Rice's mind raced, searching for a solution as certain death bore down upon them. Suddenly, a blur of motion caught his attention. Saren Arterius, the legendary Spectre-turned-Reaper agent, launched himself at the abomination. His loyalties, clearly divided, gave Rice a split-second opportunity. "Saren!" Rice shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "The eye, its weak point." Whether driven by some remaining shred of free will or simply reacting to the command, Saren unleashed a biotic assault of staggering power directly into the destroyer's ocular aperture. The resulting explosion rocked the entire base, leaving Rice's ears ringing. As the smoke cleared, he saw the destroyer lying in ruins, with Saren's broken form nearby. With the immediate threat neutralized, Rice sprinted for the data vault. His fingers flew across the console, initiating the transfer sequence they had prepared. "It's working," he called out to the surviving members of the strike team. "The Matrix core is being reintegrated with the containment systems in the Pocket Dimension facility." As the transfer completed, Rice activated the failsafe. A shimmering portal sprang to life, offering a narrow window of escape. "Everyone through now," he ordered, helping wounded operatives towards the dimensional rift. Rice cast one last look at the devastated Cerberus base before stepping through the portal himself. The fight was nowhere near the end, but they had struck a critical blow against both Cerberus and the Reapers. As the dimensional gateway closed behind them, Rice allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. They had the Matrix components. Now the real work could begin. Now the real work could start. The dimensional portal deposited Rice and the survivors of the strike team back into the heart of the Citadel. Alarms blared as medical teams rushed to tend to the wounded. Rice stumbled forward, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm him, but Nyreen caught his arm. "Easy, doctor," she said, her mandibles twitching with concern. "You've done enough for now." Rice shook his head, forcing himself to focus. "No time to rest. We need to integrate these components immediately." Counselor Tevis approached, her usually serene features etched with worry. "Dr. Rice, what's our status?" "We have the Matrix components," Rice replied, holding up the secure containment unit. "But the Reapers are coming. We need to act fast." Within hours, Rice found himself back in the sealed Pocket Dimension facility. A swarm of human and alien scientists surrounded him, their voices a cacophony of technical jargon and urgent requests. "Calibrate the quantum resonance field," Rice called out, his fingers flying across the holographic interfaces. "We need to optimize the decryption algorithms." Lyra Tassoni appeared at his side, her face drawn with fatigue, but eyes bright with commitment. "I've analyzed the data Mr. Smith tried to steal. It's given us insights into the Reaper's base encryption." As they worked, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Admiral Hackett's gravelly voice cut through the din. "Reaper forces engaged over Terra Nova. We're holding the line, but barely." Similar messages poured in from Turian and Asari fleets. The united forces of the galaxy were buying them time, but at a terrible cost. Days blurred together as Rice pushed himself to the brink of collapse. The Matrix slowly took shape, its potential growing with each passing hour. A commotion at the entrance to the facility drew Rice's attention. Jack Harper strode in, his cybernetic eyes gleaming as he dragged a limp form behind him. "Indoctrinated agent," Harper explained, dropping the unconscious body. "Nearly made it to the core containment chamber." Rice's blood ran cold at the near miss. "Thank you, Jack. We can't afford any setbacks now." As if to underscore his words, a massive tremor shook the station. Alarms blared as Executor Palin's voice rang out over the comms. "Reaper forces have breached the Citadel's outer defenses. All non-essential personnel, evacuate immediately." Rice's heart pounded as he turned back to the Matrix. They were out of time. "Initiate final power-up sequence," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. Energy crackled around the Matrix as it hummed to life. Rice held his breath, watching as streams of data flowed through the quantum-entangled network he had painstakingly constructed. For a moment, silence fell across the facility. Then reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Reaper capital ships immobilized over Palaven. Ground forces on Thessia have gone dormant. A cheer went up from the assembled scientists, but Rice's elation was short-lived. The Matrix's displays flickered, showing new data streams. "No," he whispered, realization dawning. "They have fail-safes." Before their eyes, Reaper forces began reactivating, shrugging off the Matrix's effects like a momentary inconvenience. Rice's mind raced, searching for a solution. His gaze fell upon a heavily encrypted data packet, coordinates to an uncharted world. "The Reaper Command Nexus," he breathed. It was their last hope. With trembling hands, Rice began recalibrating the Matrix, focusing its full power on that single point in space. As he worked, the sounds of battle grew closer. The Citadel was falling around them. "Almost there," Rice muttered, sweat beading on his brow. "Just a little more time." "Just a little more," Rice muttered, his fingers flying across the holographic interface. The Matrix hummed with nearly unleashed power, its quantum components pulsing with ethereal light. Suddenly, a new data stream materialized on the display. Rice's eyes widened as he recognized the pattern. "This is it," he breathed, "the Reaper Command Nexus." Without hesitation, Rice began recalibrating the Matrix, focusing its full might on that singular point in space. The facility trembled as energy surged through conduits and relays. "Dr. Rice," Lyra called out, her voice strained. "Reaper forces have breached the outer wards. We're running out of time." Rice gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his brow as he fine-tuned the Matrix's resonance algorithms. "We need to destabilize their core processes. It's our only shot at shutting them down for good." Outside the pocket dimension, chaos reigned. The united fleets of the galaxy clashed with the resurgent Reaper armada in a desperate bid for survival. Jack Harper's voice crackled over the comms, thick with static and the sounds of battle. "We've got Reaper capital ships bearing down on the Citadel. Turian dreadnoughts are taking heavy fire." Rice's hands flew across the controls, directing the science teams to refine the Matrix's output. "We're probing their defenses across higher dimensional strata. Just hold them off a little longer." The air itself seemed to vibrate as the Matrix pushed against the Nexus's formidable shields. Rice watched intently as fractal patterns of data cascaded across his screens, searching for any sign of weakness. A thunderous explosion rocked the facility. Alarms blared as containment fields flickered and died. "Reaper ground forces have breached the inner sanctum," Nyrene's voice rang out, punctuated by the staccato of gunfire. "We need reinforcements." Rice's heart pounded as he worked furiously to maintain the delicate calibration. He could hear the sounds of combat growing closer, the inhuman shrieks of husks echoing through the corridors. Suddenly, a familiar figure burst into the chamber, cybernetic implants glowing with an eerie light. "Saren?" Rice gasped, momentarily shocked by the Turian's appearance. The former Spectre nodded grimly, raising his weapon. "I'll hold them off. You finish this, Doctor." As Saren took up a defensive position, Rice refocused on the task at hand. The Matrix's harmonics were finally penetrating the Nexus's outer firewalls. He could feel it. They were close. "Lyra," he called out, "I need you to reroute all available power to the main conduits. We're going for one massive pulse." The Asari scientist nodded, her fingers dancing across her own console. "Ready on your mark, Doctor." Rice took a deep breath, steadying himself. This was it, their last chance to end the Reaper threat once and for all. "Now," he shouted, slamming his hand down on the activation sequence. The world exploded in a blinding flash of light. Rice felt as if reality itself was being torn apart and rewoven. As his vision cleared, he saw the Matrix's displays flickering with new data. Across the galaxy, Reaper ships began to go dark. Their synchronized movements faltered, becoming erratic and uncoordinated. "It's working," Rice whispered, scarcely daring to believe it. "We've severed their connection to the command nexus." As the implications of their success sank in, Rice allowed himself a moment of hope. The fight was far from finished, but for the first time since the Reapers appeared, Victory seemed within reach. Yet as the echoes of their victory faded, the true cost became apparent. Rice surveyed the devastation around him, his heart heavy. The Matrix facility lay in ruins, sparks flying from shattered consoles. Bodies of fallen comrades and Reaper forces alike littered the ground. "We did it," Lyra breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But at what price?" Before Rice could respond, a holographic projection flickered to life. Counselor Tivos's face appeared, etched with exhaustion and grief. "Dr. Rice, we need you on the Citadel immediately. The aftermath, it's worse than we feared." Hours later, Rice found himself standing before the battered remnants of the Citadel Council. The air was thick with tension as representatives from each race argued over the next steps. "The Turian fleet is decimated," Primarch Victus growled. "We need time to rebuild, not throw ourselves into more conflicts." "And what of the Asari?" a matriarch countered. "Our worlds burn while you speak of isolation." Rice cleared his throat, silencing the room. "We have a unique opportunity here. The pocket dimension technology that defeated the Reapers could be the key to rebuilding our civilizations." Tevos nodded, her eyes sharp. "Dr. Rice, I'm appointing you coordinator of the Unified Pocket Dimension Initiatives. We need your expertise now more than ever." As the weeks passed, Rice threw himself into his work. The pocket dimensions offered unprecedented possibilities for resource gathering, reconstruction, and scientific advancement. Yet with each breakthrough came new challenges. "The Solarians are demanding exclusive access to the quantum entanglement research," Lyra reported, her brow furrowed. "They claim it's payment for their contributions during the war." Rice pinched the bridge of his nose. "And the Turians?" "Still pushing for isolation, Victus is using the pocket dimensions as justification to cut ties with the other races." Before Rice could respond, the facility's alarms blared. Jack Harper strode in, his cybernetic eyes glowing with urgency. "We have a problem," Harper announced. "Reaper tech is surfacing in the Traverse. Criminal syndicates, separatist groups, they're all scrambling for power." Rice felt a chill run down his spine. "How bad is it?" Harper's expression darkened. "Bad enough that I've reactivated Cerberus Black Ops. We're the only ones equipped to handle this threat." As days turned to weeks, Rice found himself pulled in 1,000 directions. The fragile alliance between races threatened to shatter at any moment. His own research into quantum suppression countermeasures left him feeling compromised, the weight of military expectations at odds with his scientific principles. Saren Arterius, now a reluctant ally, approached Rice in a quiet moment. "You're losing yourself, Doctor. This obsession with securing humanity's future, it's blinding you to the bigger picture." Rice opened his mouth to argue, but a priority alert cut him off. Tivos's hologram materialized, her face ashen. "We have a new threat," she said, her voice trembling. "An armada of unknown aliens has emerged from dark space. They've already taken 3 outer colonies." As the implications sank in, Rice felt the ground shift beneath his feet. The Reaper War had only been the beginning. Now, facing an enemy armed with hybridized Reaper tech, the fractures in their alliance would be put to the ultimate test. Rice's mind raced, considering possibilities that would have been unthinkable mere months ago. As the Citadel erupted into panic around him, he knew that the decisions made in the coming hours would shape the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.